All right, we have another episode of Tailwind. Today we're joined by Scott Bailey. Scott, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I'm Scott Bailey with Sandler Training based here in Irvine, California since 1994. And I was exposed to Sandler as a medical sales rep. Like most salespeople, I didn't plan on getting into sales. It seems to be a default career. Go ask any little 7-year-old boy or girl what they want to be when they grow up. They're not likely going to say salesperson. Might be astronaut or actor or doctor, lawyer, Indian chief, something like that.
Yep.
But I was majoring in biology, and when my plans to go to optometry school didn't pan out because we didn't have any money, I decided to quote unquote try sales to pay for my way into optometry school. And it turned
Mhm.
out I was pretty good at it. But back then, medical companies were hiring biology majors because we could talk to doctors. Business majors didn't do very well. They would get intimidated with the language, but I took off with it and was in the artificial kidney business for many years. And at 20 years in the business, I was burnt out and tired, even though I was the number one salesperson out of 30. Secretly, I was trying to look for something else to do, but I had many years left before retirement and decided to go through a transformation. I'd heard about the Sandler selling system as the best kept secret in sales training, which
Mhm.
attracted me to it. So I enrolled in a gentleman's program, and in 6 months of attending his training, which we call President's Club, it's recurring training, I saw a 30% increase in sales with half the work. So this is pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
So I flew back and met David Sandler in April of 1994 and his team, and opened my practice that August of 1994. Continuously doing business in Irvine ever since, helping lots of people, lots of companies have a sales process instead of just winging it all the time, which is what I was a victim of. If
Yeah.
if you if you work hard at sales, it'll get you so far. At some point, you can't work any harder than you are, and that's where I found myself. I had to have a system that taught me to work smart and not hard.
I mean, I
Uh,
guess say kudos to you were the top salesperson and you didn't have like a system yet and you were winging it and still getting a ton of results.
Even
Um,
though I was the best salesperson that year for
yeah.
the company, I could be a lot better. And the Sandler coach that I worked with proved to me it was costing me a lot of money to not have a system. And
Yeah.
it's strange how most salespeople don't really have a system at all. It's seat of the pants or winging it, as we call it.
Mhm.
Just get out there and spew as much information as you can. And every salesperson knows the ABC rule: always be closing, right?
Yeah.
Problem is, prospects know that we know that, and have
Mhm.
developed a defense mechanism against it. Salespeople are always asking for a yes and settling for an "I want to think it over," which they take as a yes in the future, when
Mhm.
actually our data could prove that they're most of the time, almost all the time, no's. So the Sandler selling system is based upon what we call a pattern interrupt. It's breaking the pattern. So instead of closing for a yes at the end of a presentation, we close for a no at the beginning of a presentation. Austin will be meeting together today for an hour. At the end of the hour, you and I may determine we don't have a fit here. And if that's fine, just tell me it's not a fit and I'll move on. So we go for the no up front, which is refreshing for the prospect. The prospect, David Sandler said, always had the right to tell us no. We just never gave him permission to do it. So if
Yeah.
we close for a no, we're going to remove all the defects of the think it overs and get closer to a yes or some kind of clear next step of getting the business. Most of my clients are not in a one call close. It's a multiple enterprise level, and they
Mhm.
need something called an upfront contract to go from one sale to the next until it leads to the when the check clears.
Yeah.
All of Sandler's techniques take a little time to learn, but that's the bonus of it. Is most salespeople don't want to work at it. They just want to get out in front of people and
Mhm.
what I call spray and pray. And,
Yeah.
and when they're tired of doing that, maybe the Sandler selling system and a sales coach could help out.
So, we were talking before we started recording about getting ghosted or getting unghosted. Would you say the pattern disrupt and the going for the no is part of that process? Do you mind expanding a little bit on that?
Well, first of all, probably the major cause of being ghosted is assuming the prospect. They've told you yes, but it's what we call a compliant yes.
Mhm.
Salespeople say something like, "At the end of our meeting, you'll tell me yes or no, won't you?" And what a prospect will do is they'll agree to that just to kind of get rid of you, right?
Mhm.
They just want to get rid of you. They don't like that. So our methodology would be at the end of our meeting, we could determine we're not a fit. We could determine we don't go together or we do go together. Mr. Prospect, in your mind, what would that look like? Ask your prospect what the next step would be. Don't tell them they've got to tell you yes or no, because they will agree with you only to, I forget what the name of it is, some kind of it's a conditional yes,
Hmm.
only to make it you go away. And these are the people that don't return your voicemails. Also, we want to approach every sales call as if we have the winning lottery ticket in our pocket. Like we don't need to make the sale. Um, the what we call equal business stature. And third, we want to use a post sell if we feel like we're about to be ghost. So I'll demonstrate one here. Austin,
Yep.
I understand we have a meeting next Friday set up over Zoom. I've sent you the link. Please respond that you have the link, and then you might bring it up in the Sandler selling system. We have a rule that goes like this: if you feel it, say it, but gently. So I might say something like, Austin, do you know what ghosting is?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Have you ever been ghosted?
I have,
How
unfortunately.
did it make you feel?
Not great.
So that's not going to happen between us, right?
Well, now I feel terrible if I did after acknowledging that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
that's great.
post sell. It's a
Yeah.
post sell. It's raising the difficult topic
Mhm.
and getting it on the table and having an adult conversation about it. It's what it
Yeah.
is. That's a post sell. That made me a lot of money in my sales career, because what was happening is I'd be successful getting a new piece of business only to have the incumbent come back within 24 hours and take the business back. And
Mm.
that was the flaw in my system when I started post selling. I didn't have any of those issues with the client going back to the competition. It was solid.
Right.
So use a post sell on any commitment that you get from a prospect, and make sure that it's going to happen. Make sure that they're serious about it. So it's closing for a no, having equal business stature, and using a post sell if you feel you need one.
Hmm. Now, for somebody who, let's say, either wasn't aware of this or forgot to do it, people are human, they make mistakes, and they want to get unghosted. Do you have any recommendations on strategies to make that happen?
We got a great unghosting technique, and it's so simple, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So if you're ghosting me right now, I'm going to send you an email, and all I'm going to say in the subject matter line is, Austin, are you okay, with the question mark, and send it
Yeah.
just like that. Because what's happening here is I want to make you think that I believe something bad has happened to you. And
Hmm.
we're getting 80 to 90% response rates with that. That's what our clients are telling us. People are getting back to you because they don't want to feel like something bad's happened to them. People believe that. So
Yeah.
you get 6 pages of emails back from them. Oh, I've been really busy. I'm really sorry. So that's a technique we're finding that's working. And again, it's, are you okay? You'll be tempted to write much more in your, just don't, keep it simple. Are you okay? And send it. And
Hmm.
probably within half an hour, you'll get a response.
Yeah.
If you're dealing with a real human being, somebody that with feelings,
Yeah.
which
Well, at some
most
point,
people.
it's like, hey, if you send that and you don't hear anything back, that's just done. That is their no. It's implied. You don't have to worry about figuring out if it's worth following up. Just go on to the next thing, right?
And my formula is, no does not equal never. It just means not now. And you
Mhm.
have to have some kind of an automated system, like email system, what I would call, commonly called, drip marketing. Put
Mhm.
put those prospects in your drip marketing campaign, because you want to be top of mind awareness. Maybe it's not the right fit right now because of whatever reason, the economy or the competition, whatever it is. It's just not the right fit. It doesn't mean that in the future it's not going to be a fit. Just don't waste any time on it. I want you to go out there and get the no's as fast as you can, because the more no's you gather, the closer you are getting to a yes. That's just a fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So what
what
as
we
part of
really
like
what we
sorry.
what we really have to deal with, and most salespeople could say, "Oh, I could do that," but they can't execute it because they've taken no as a negative thing. So we got to deal with a lot of what Sandler calls the head trash around going for the
Mhm.
no and the feeling of rejection. And it always gets back to, you're probably familiar with the success triangle that Sandler talks about.
Mhm.
The 3 elements of the success triangle is, up at the top would be your attitude about prospecting, your attitude about going for the no. I like to have salespeople think, hey, I've got the winning lottery ticket in my pocket. It starts with the right attitude.
Yeah.
Then your behavior, which is what you're doing. Attitude's how you're feeling and your outlook about many different things. Your
Mhm.
behavior is the number of dials you're making, the networking groups you go to, all the different things salespeople need to do. There's about 7 things I do on a daily basis to move my pipeline along. And then there's techniques. So attitudes, behaviors, and techniques. And all of the Sandler techniques are based on what I mentioned as pattern interrupt, literally the opposite of what the other guy's doing. Because
Mhm.
as soon as you look or sound like a salesperson, you generally trigger a lot of friction and resistance in a buyer. Buyers are made to be resistant basically because of poor salespeople.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to be sold, but everybody loves to buy. So the key to using Sandler is to never look like a salesperson.
Yeah.
That creates a lot of trust, and trust will carry you a long way in the sales process. It really will. You don't have to be perfect Sandler execution if you have trust in place. That's why
Mhm.
most salespeople prefer referrals to cold calls, right? I would much
Oh, yeah.
rather, contact somebody who's been referred to me than, pick up the phone and call a stranger. My
Yeah.
odds of closing are, yeah, everybody
More
knows that.
effective. Yeah, it's 100% more
Heck
effective.
yeah.
Yeah. So, one of the things with, disqualifying, I think it's always easier if you have multiple opportunities that you're able to work instead of being like, well, this is my one. If it doesn't work, I'm sitting out stranded on my own. So, you have to be out there prospecting and continue to, generate leads for your pipeline to continue to keep it full. Now, when we think about like these, pattern interrupts and the ghosting techniques to stop it from happening, how would you apply that to like when you're doing your prospecting direct, like as part of like the direct prospecting? Like, is there a post sell I should be doing after I get an agreement with somebody on a phone call, or how would I
Well,
navigate?
here, I start all my clients in a 2 day impact training boot camps, we call them, where I've
Hmm.
taken Sandler, I've compressed it down into 2 days, Sandler A to Z. And
Hmm.
I give them 7 things to do, one a day. If you do these 7 things one a day, and I don't care what order they're in, and one of the elements in there is on some of the techniques. I want you to take your oldest leads possible, and practice on them. Those are the
Okay.
people you're going to practice the new techniques on because it's a low risk, right? The odds are the older the lead, the less chance that it's a good lead, that's a solid lead. So these are the people we practice on, right?
Hmm.
Pull out. We have a technique called stripping line, which is going negative, and where
Hmm.
we ask for the no. Hey, Austin, I notice you've been in our database for 16 years. We've got a new contact management system. We're curious whether or not we should keep you in the system or not, and ask for a no. And if I get a no, I'm going to find out why it's a no, and so on and
Hmm.
so forth. So you practice in low risk situations and develop some confidence with the system. That's what I recommend. It's like
Yeah.
learning a new language. You're not going to be fluent in something, and we're finding that it takes 4 to 6 months for people to really get the benefit of Sandler after the 2 day boot camp that we put you through. We work with you for an hour and a half a week. Every Tuesday we train, and we do
Hmm.
that on Zoom. So the client only has to come in person one time or 2 days, and then all the support is given on Zoom. And that's what's working for us. And we tell the average clients it's going to take 6 months to get your investment back. And they
Yeah.
get that. They realize it's work. You got to put your time. Hey, you could practice with us or you could practice on your clients. It's your pick. It's more
Yeah.
expensive to practice on your customers, right?
I love this practice on the people who have been in your database for a while because that's such a great way to get the human rep, and I actually do that. And I totally understand the AI stuff, and I understand like role playing, and I think there's totally a place for it. But I still feel like there's still that game time. Like, all right, I'm in the game. I actually need to talk to a person, be nervous about it. I'm talking to my coach. Maybe I'm nervous because I'm talking in front of other people, or I'm talking to AI. I'm not nervous because it's like, well, this isn't a deal on the other end. But then being able to apply that to a real live person and then be like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to fumble this. I'm going to make mistakes for 6 months, but now it's not going to hurt me because I'm actually getting like, high quality reps with low risk. That's such a great way to think about it.
I remember this one client I worked with many years ago who had the biggest fear of cold calling I've ever worked. He was so afraid
Yeah.
to cold call. But what I had him do, and it worked, is he would call the prospect and say, "Hi, Austin, this is Gabriel. I really hate cold calling. I'm afraid to do this. And the last two people I called hung up on me. What are you going to do?"
Yeah.
Nobody hung up on him.
Yeah.
So again, pattern interrupt. If Austin, this is a cold call. Before you hang up, can I tell you the purpose of my call and I'll let you determine if we should speak further?
Yeah.
If it's a cold call, say it's a cold call.
Yeah.
That's the pattern interrupt. Salespeople don't say that. They say, "How are you today?" HAYT. We call those hate crimes. HAYT. How are you today? That's telegraphing that you're trying to sell them something, right?
Yeah. Anytime somebody opens with that, when I get a cold call, I'm like, what do you want from me? Like, just tell me. Just, I don't mind that you're calling me and you want something from me. Maybe I
Awesome.
want
It's a
something from
cold
you.
call. It's a cold call. Can you give me
Yeah.
30 seconds and I'll maybe we should determine it's not a fit and I'll
Yeah.
move on. And that's just that simple. The Sandler techniques are ridiculously simple. I'm not saying they're easy
Right.
because they're counterintuitive to what we're currently doing. And that again, that's the benefit of it because most salespeople don't want to work this hard. They don't. They would just rather make more calls rather than practice on their customers rather than
Mhm.
pulling back and taking an hour and a half a week to practice. I mean, who can't find 90 minutes a week to practice and get better and make those when you do have a live client or potential client on the line, it's more effective. So
Yeah, definitely. And then so you get the permission to give, the reason for your call. You give the reason, right? And we can, very Sandler 30-second commercial. You get them interested. How are you apply, what are some ways that people can think about or apply not getting ghosted after they've gotten that commitment to a yes with that conversation?
well, again, I think the post sell, bring it up, saying, I've been the last couple of people I booked a meeting with ghosted me or didn't show up.
Yeah.
Is that going to happen between us? You have to do this stuff, but you
Mhm.
have to do it in a nurturing way. You don't want to call them out on it. Just say, "Hey, this is difficult to talk about. I just want to
Yeah.
make sure you really want to do this." And, sometimes I get ghosted. That's not going to happen to us in this situation, is it? Usually the
Mhm.
prospect will say, "No way." And you're not going to get ghosted if they say they're not going to ghost you, right? They can't.
Yeah.
Unless something bad has happened, then you can send them the
Well,
"Are you
then
okay"
exactly.
line. Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes like the perfect way
Yeah.
to say it because like, well, you just told me that you weren't gonna ghost me, so now I'm worried about you, even though we're strangers. Like, I want to make sure you're okay.
I wonder if that's a real word, unghosted. I think it is.
If it's not in the Webster dictionary, it's everyone knows what it is for sure.
Sandler, it's in the Sandler lexicon. So,
There you go.
so
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of the Sandler rules. And
Mhm.
when my client, there's about 100 of them. I don't know if no mind reading, don't spill your candy in the lobby. You're familiar with these. So what
I've
I
heard them.
focus,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm a big rules Nazi, I guess, to use a word. I just
Yeah.
think they're important. I mean, how could you become an accountant if you didn't know math? And I think the Sandler system, the rules and the concepts, is what I really feature with people because you got to learn them at some point if you want to get better, or you're going to hit a block.
Mhm.
And I also am a big proponent of the leadership of the company that we're training. In fact, it's required that the leaders be
Yeah.
involved in the program with their salespeople because salespeople are going to, how should I say this, as they progress through the system and we're looking for transformation, which is truly transformative. If you've had Sandler training, you know what I'm talking about. And that
Mhm.
transformation is coming at you. You do one of two things. You either transform and you change, or you get scared and run. And
Yeah.
what that sounds like is, oh, those Sandler guys don't know what they're talking about. They don't know our business, or they're always talking about the upfront contract, or it doesn't work in Orange County, and all this stuff that's
Yeah.
excuse making. That's a sign that they're being afraid of change. So that's why we got to have the leaders in the program to back us up, because if the leader's hearing all this negative stuff and not attending the training, then the system's doomed to failure. After 4 to 6 months, we're going to lose you because you're.
Yeah.
So I really do demand that the leaders, people writing the check, come to training and see what our message is. As good of the things they're telling them, we're telling them something different, and they have to know in what context we're telling them that. Like you're calling customers and asking for a no. I don't believe in that. So you got to understand the principles behind
Yeah.
behind the system. So
Makes sense. I mean, to your point, it takes 4 to 6 months for them to fully gain the benefits. That's a long time for any human being to wait to get start getting the rewards of it, and then pile on top the fact that many professional sellers have a 3, 6, 9 year long, sales cycle.
Selling
And
cycle,
so
yeah.
it's like, hey, I'm not going to see the fruits of my labor until like the end of the year anyhow. So even when I start getting better, what I can attribute to the Sandler system, if it takes me 6 months on a regular deal, is probably going to take me about a couple months to get comfortable with it, and then 6 months for the first deal to close. And it's a lot of waiting to figure out, is this actually working for me? And that's where, totally agree. Leadership has to be there to be like, no, this is the process. We understand, but look at these KPIs and look at these KPIs, and we're staying patient, knowing that that's what this is going to look like. It's a lot to navigate, and to have somebody have to do it on their own. I mean, it's asking too much.
Here's what I tell people. I say you can't teach religion to the family by dropping the kids off at church while you and mom go get a Bloody Mary at the sports bar, right?
Yeah, as
Hey
fun as that
kids,
sounds.
hey kids, we'll see you in a couple hours. Go get religion. It
Yeah,
does not work. So if
Yep.
you look at Sandler, like
Yeah.
we're changing behaviors, attitudes, techniques, like I mentioned. If you think of it, a good analogy would be learning a brand new language. And I'm guessing you don't speak Russian. I don't know.
No.
I'm just take okay, all right.
Good
So
guess. Good guess.
let's say you wanted to learn to speak Russian. You might attend a 2 day training on it, and you'd learn 300 words. You could say please and thank you, basic stuff, and you'd forget it if you didn't practice it. So after the initial training, you would want to become conversational in Russian, which means you'd
Mhm.
have to do it regularly. Now, to become fluent in Russian, that's a whole nother level. Just like becoming fluent in Sandler, it takes time. But we tell
Mhm.
people that they'll be conversational in Sandler in 4 to 6 months. They're not going to be fluent. They couldn't stand up in the room and deliver it and train it, but they would definitely see the benefit of it, becoming conversational. And they're still going to pop back into their old ways under certain pressure situations. So again, it's a good
Yeah.
case for practicing under low risk situations. Go tackle a prospect that's very difficult. Been thinking it over for a long time. Practice on these people. The older, the better, and
Yeah.
and take it seriously. This is your training. This is you're working on yourself, and we find that people they don't just change as a salesperson. They change. It improves their lives because the Sandler selling system, in its essence, is really a communication system. You would know that being in the program
Mhm.
makes you a better communicator with your family, with your cohorts, your peers, in your life, and within your company. Makes you a better communicator. That
Yeah.
was a genius of David Sandler. He studied psychology and applied it to a sales process. As far as I know, it's the first one that's ever, there's actually science of why the system works.
Yeah. So I'm about 6 months into my journey, maybe a little bit more. Definitely know that I'm on a journey. I don't feel completed with it. What would you say is the next milestone when you become beyond conversational, and how long does that usually take?
That's a great question, but honestly, it's how hard you're going to work at it. It's like the frequency and
Yeah.
and setting little goals, doing a pre-call plan and a
Hmm.
post-call debrief. I call it a 2-minute drill. So
Hmm.
many of the issues that Sandler, the problems caused in sales, traditional sales, is resolved when we have a good upfront contract. I believe that. If you look at the first 3 steps of the system, which is building rapport and trust, that's going to carry a long way. You don't have to be perfect at the system. And a nicely executed upfront contract with an outcome step discussed. At the end of the meeting, we can determine we're not a fit or what kind of fit we might have. And that's the link to the pain step and getting permission to ask questions. So much of that is embodied in those first 3 steps with the upfront contract being your GPS and
Hmm.
the upfront contract. If you don't get permission to ask questions, what kind of a pain step are you going to have? Not a very good one.
Yeah.
So Austin, I'm going to be asking you some questions. If I ask you a question that in any way makes you uncomfortable or offends you or you don't understand, just stop me and I won't ask it. So Sandler's a permission-based system. I just got
Hmm.
permission to find your pain. I make the claim that the first 3 steps of the system, bonding and rapport, upfront contract, and pain, is 85% of the sale. Okay,
Yeah.
if you nail those, and then the budget step and the decision step, everything becomes easier as we move through the system. But you really got to focus on those first three steps.
Yeah.
However you build trust, some kind of crafted upfront contract, agree to an outcome, questions. Also bring up what I call the biggest fear. If there's an objection looming, this is the time to bring it up in the upfront contract. Hey, can I bring up something that's awkward, difficult? In my case, I always had that conversation about the time. Training takes time, and everybody's busy. Our training is at such and such a time on a Tuesday. Everybody's, oh, don't you have it at a different time? No, this is when the training is. This is when you go. We're not moving the training around for your convenience. This is when the training is. You have to carve out time to attend.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about training, we ask people to turn their cameras on when we're doing Zoom training, be engaged, and ask questions. And if you happen to be driving a car, we won't let you in. You have to be engaged to be involved. Be trainable, guys.
Well, speaking of upfront contract, we mentioned at the beginning of this recording that we'd stop at the half-hour mark, so we're there. Before we sign off, if you don't mind, do you have any final parting thoughts for anyone listening in on this one?
Geez, there's so many thoughts. If you're in professional sales, and even think about if you're a trusted advisor like a financial planner or a CPA trying to make partner in your firm. These are all selling kind of situations. Get a hold of a Sandler trainer. If it's not me, there might be one in your marketplace. There probably is. We have like 300 offices globally. They're not far away. And get some help, and you'll see the return come back directly proportional to the amount of work that you put into it. So I think everybody at some levels in sales, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I'll have attorneys say, I'm not a salesperson. I say, so you've never sold a jury? Well, that's different. It's not different. It's all selling.
Well,
We all sell.
if you're gonna be a partner at a law firm, your job is to be a salesperson at that point. You're
We
barely
partner by bringing in new clients.
yeah.
That's we help. Those types of people make great clients for us because they'll come in and they'll take it very seriously. And
Yeah.
if you're a corporate client, understand that Sandler is not an inexpensive investment. It's costs money, and appreciate the fact that your company is paying for your training. I'm proud to say we're getting so many people these days under 30 coming through the system, even under 25 right out of college.
Hmm.
And I would say the only disadvantage of Sandler is what everybody says. I wish I was younger when I learned this stuff. This is the
Yeah.
right way to do it. So I appreciate you having me aboard.
Yeah, Scott, that was wonderful. I really appreciate you taking the time.